Basketball coaches teleconference. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. If you would like to ask a question during the conference, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. To withdraw your question, press the pound key. I will now turn the call over to Mike Kern. Please go ahead, sir.
Thanks, Bonnie, and we'll just get a couple of conference notes out of the way before we begin with our first coach. We do have Coach Ben Jacobson on the line with us, Northern Iowa, playing at Craig tonight on the NBC television network. Players of the week this week in the league, Ron Baker of Wichita State helped the Shockers to 2 more wins, averaging 22.5 points. He had a career high 26 at Evansville on Sunday. And Deshaun Knight also had a career high, scoring 26 in a game against Bradley as the Redbirds split a pair of games last week. Deshaun Knight, the newcomer of the week for the 4th time this year, setting an Illinois State record for selections for the Redbirds. And let's go ahead and welcome Coach Ben Jacobson on the line. Of course, the game tonight in Des Moines as Drake hosts the Panthers at 8 o'clock Central. Morning, Ben.
Morning, Mike.
How are you?
Doing good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about tonight's game, and then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Drake coming off a really good win in their last one. For 35 plus minutes of that game, they really had control of it, and it's happened to us, a handful of times or more where it got a little bit hectic toward the end. But I thought they really played well in that game. Their seniors are playing great right now, and they've gone to a different lineup here in the last couple of weeks and have a little more size, and they've done a nice job with their defense and a nice job with their rebounding. I know those are things that Ray has really worked hard to get in place in his first year, and I just think they've done a really good job of that.
Thanks, Coach. Let's open it up to some questions for you. Questions for Coach Ben Jacobson.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Jim Benson of the Bloomington Pantograph.
Hey, Ben, you've had big guys, and there's a lot of young big guys in the league this year. As a coach, do you have to be a little more patient with big guys, maybe more so than wing players and guards? And second of all, from your experience, is it between the first year and the second year, is that when the big guys usually kind of make a real big jump?
Yeah, typically speaking, Jim, I would agree that big guys certainly take a little bit longer in terms of their development and than it would for the other position guys, as you mentioned. And in terms of when that jump happens, our experience has been in some ways individual. Certainly, it takes longer overall, but we've had some guys that have made the jump between their freshman and sophomore year, but we've also had some guys that it's taken until in between their sophomore and junior year. So heading into that third year is when they've really made their jump. We've had some of both. Steph Tuttle for us, maybe as an example, had a really good freshman year, had a good sophomore year, but there wasn't I don't think a noticeable improvement between freshman and sophomore year. And now I feel like there's been a bigger jump between his sophomore and junior year, and there's still things that I think he's played his best here in the last 2 weeks. He's 2.5 years in, so and I think for big guys, a lot of it depends on when their body will keep weight and strength on, and each guy's different that way. But like I said, we've had both. We've had first to second year, we've had second to third year.
Thanks.
Yep.
Again, to ask a question, press star 1.
Coach, that was it for you today. Thanks for your time. We'll see you tonight. Good luck against the Bulldogs in Des Moines.
Yep. Thanks,
right.
Mike.
Yeah. And we're getting Coach Ray Giacoletti on the line with us, of course, great coach team Northern Iowa tonight. Bulldogs hosting Northern Iowa tonight, game 8 o'clock Central on the NBC television network. Later this week, Drake travels to Wichita State to play the third-ranked Shockers in Wichita on Saturday. Morning, Coach.
Morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you.
Good. Let's talk about the Panthers. Tonight's game. Give us a brief preview, then we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Yeah, obviously Northern Iowa's a very good team, especially offensively, where you get so many different guys that can shoot the basketball from the three-point line and then tunnel inside. They're hard to defend and hard to help off of people, and so not only in a half-court set, but really get out and push the ball in transition and put a lot of pressure on your transition defense. So Ben does a great job up there. Been doing it for a long time, and his teams are always well coached, and should be a good atmosphere in the Knapp Center tonight.
Coach, thanks very much. Let's go ahead and open it up now for some questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Ray Giacoletti.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Jim Benson of the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Hey, Ray, there's a lot of freshman and sophomore low post guys in the league this year. You've had a lot of experience coaching low post guys at your previous stops, and you have a kid there at Drake right now. Do you have to be more patient with those guys a little bit, maybe more so than the wing players or point guards?
Yeah, I think so. I think you get probably a better feel every day in practice for how they're progressing. I'm really excited with Jacob because I see so much growth and improvement in practice, and he's been able to carry it over. I think the defensive piece and the rebounding piece in the games, the scoring piece is lagged a little bit behind, but I think he's got a great upside to him. The big kid at Illinois State, Lynch, is somebody else who got really soft hands, and he has a ball that goes in. With bigs, you talk about, especially scoring the basketball. Some guys just kind of have a knack for a soft ball that goes in. Others, it takes a little bit longer to develop. But I think those two guys are pretty darn good. McCullough, the big kid at Missouri State, is another one who I think has a chance to be a good player before long. You just don't see a whole lot of really good players that size. That they're hard to come by, and they're hard to find.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Again, to ask a question, press star 1.
Coach, it's been a while since you played the Panthers, 5 weeks, I think, to the day, actually, and talk about the differences between the two matchups, the personnel changing, and what you'd like to happen differently this time. Of course, winning would be one of those things, but what would need to happen to make that happen?
That's a good point. We actually played pretty well up there. We led for probably 34 minutes that night, and I thought it was, in the environment, I thought our guys did a really good job staying focused, just possession by possession. We kind of got a little bit out of character maybe the last 5 minutes of the game, shot some quick shots and didn't get back in transition on one particular possession that really hurt us. But, I don't know from our side, there's a whole lot of personnel changes. We kind of are who we are. I know Northern is changed up a little bit. Morgan's in the starting lineup, or at least he was the last game. And, they get Todd Buss back healthy now again, so it just gives them a little bit more, I think, firepower. The toughest thing to guard, I think, with Northern is those 4 men that both can shoot it with Buss and Rank, and it's just hard matchups, what you're going to do defensively with, those 4 ball screens. So I don't think there's a whole lot of difference other than just kind of time has gone by here.
Great, thank you. That was the last question in the queue for you. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you tonight. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Holding just for a moment for Coach Paul Lusk of Missouri State. We'll have Paul on in just a moment. Thank you for your patience. Missouri State's 2-game this week. Tonight at Illinois State, a game featuring two teams that are not at 7-7 in the league standings, tied for third place, and then the Bears hosting Indiana State on Saturday. Indiana State currently in sole possession of second place at 11-3, and that game on Saturday will be shown on ESPNU. We do have Coach Greg Lansing with us. We're going to jump ahead to Greg and keep trying to reach Paul. Not sure what their shoot-around schedule was at Illinois State today, but they may be headed to the arena or in the gym right now. So will you go to Coach Lansing, who's on the line with us now? Good morning, Greg.
Morning. Hey, and I know it's a busy day. They play today, so if he's got to butt in here, feel free. I'm all right.
Okay. If he calls in, we'll boot you off and give you a free pass.
All right.
Let's talk about your games this week. Evansville tomorrow night at your place. Both games on television, but Evansville is the first game of the week. Preview tomorrow night's game with Marty's club.
Oh, just it's an in-state rival, and I respect Marty such a great deal. Really kind of the only true motion guy out there. Just very, very difficult to guard, and we all know what Ballantyne's doing, but his son Blake is stepping up, and so is Big Mock. So give him a little bit more of a three-headed monster with people that you're having to guard at that end, and they always make it hard on you. They will. Evansville is going to compete like crazy and play you tough, and we're going to have to play well to beat them. So looking forward to it, but it's a huge game for us.
Thanks, Greg. Let's get to the questions for Coach Greg Lansing. Questions for the coach.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, for questions, press star 1. Our first question comes from Harry Schroeder of Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, good morning, Greg. With all of the hype, not hype is the wrong word, but the celebration really of what Wichita's doing this year. You guys have quietly put together a really outstanding year. How would you summarize Jake's senior year? He's kind of also flown under the radar with Valentine scoring so much and the Shockers being undefeated. People have kind of forgotten about Jake.
You know what? I'll agree with you on that. I think he has nationally probably flown under the radar, but everybody in our league knows that Jake's a good player, and he's had some big games. And I think the difference here is our other guys, all our other players, whether it be Cummings or Christian Smith or Justin Gant or Manny Arop, all those guys have made it a little easier on Jake. You know, Jake hasn't had to quite take over in some games like he did maybe last year, and he's improved in every aspect of his game. He's been playing hurt a lot this year, like he has at different times throughout his career. But Wichita is deserving of every bit of credit they get. But there's no one I'd take over Jake Odom, that's for sure. And he's pretty motivated right now at this time. And as a team, I think we're better than what we were last year, and we made it to the NIT and lost. We had to play 2 games without Manny in the last week last year, so we lost some games down the stretch. But I know we're better, and our record's better, our league record's better. We may not have the signature wins other than at Notre Dame when they were at full speed with their best player and ranked. So maybe we don't have those signature wins that we've had before, but shoot, you get 9 true road wins and win some of the games we've won in the Valley, and I think that's very worthy. But that's completely out of our hands. Our only task right now is to try and beat Marty and the Purple Aces on Wednesday.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Jim Benson of the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Hey, Jim.
As you look around the league, there's a lot of young 5 men in the league. What does that speak for the Valley, for the future of the Valley a little bit, and how hard is it really to get those guys and really get them developed at this level?
Geez, that's the biggest thing. Some of these staffs, the guys that they've gone out and gotten that's amazing, because every big, it's like a point guard. Every big is over-recruited. The one right there in Bloomington Normal, he's outstanding, and I love the Thames at Bradley, and then there's some really, really good players in this league, and it's not just those 2 spots, but those guys are really hard to get, and the impact they've had as freshmen coming in this league, I can't recall it in the past few years for sure, but I know they, in ways in the past, they've had some really good bigs, but by gosh, those guys are good players, and it really is. They are very, very hard to get, so you got to commend those coaching staffs and the recruiting job that they've done.
Greg, it looks like that was the final question for you. Thank you so much, and we'll wish you the best of luck tomorrow against Evansville.
Thanks a bunch.
Okay, see you, Greg. And we were able to get a hold of Coach Lusk of Missouri State. The Barretts, of course, playing at Illinois State tonight. Later in the week, hosting Indiana State. Morning, Paul.
Morning, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right.
Good. Talk briefly about your game tonight, and we'll open it up for some questions for you. Obviously, a big game with both teams sitting at 7-7 in the league standings.
Well, we played Illinois State first game of the year, so it's been quite some time since we've seen them. But they came into our place during that first game and really had us by the throat, had us down by 16, and I don't think we were really prepared for their speed and their quickness and just how mobile they are. I think our guys were a little bit on their heels, and we were very fortunate because we were able to come back and find a way to win that game. But like their team, like their personnel, they spread you out, they drive it, they shoot threes, they press you. Their zone is very effective, and then their big kids inside are doing a nice job.
Paul, thank you. Let's go to the questions now for you from the media. Questions for Coach Paul Lusk.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Jim Benson of the Bloomington Pentagraph.
Paul?
Hey, Jim.
I saw Tyler is probably going to play a couple minutes tonight. Could you just kind of talk about his progress this year? And obviously it's been slowed a little bit here in the last couple of weeks with the concussion.
Right.
But could you just kind of talk about his future too?
Well, we think he is the future, and he had a lot of very good moments early in the season. I look at our first game at Old Dominion. He got 9 and 9. He's done some very good things. He's big. He's going to continue to progress. He's got to get stronger. Been up and down a little bit in Valley play, but he's also had very good moments. I thought he was excellent against Wichita State, at Northern Iowa. He had his best game of the year. Then he ended up getting a concussion. I think he's missed about 5 games, and it's affected us a little bit. I could have played him the other night against Northern Iowa, which we were in desperate need of a big body, but I decided not to do it just because he really hadn't been in any contact drills, and he has been progressing at a good pace. So we're going to play him tonight, and we need him down the stretch. We just need that size. I think he can become a more aggressive basketball player. That's one thing we've been stressing to him. I think a year from now, he'll be a guy that can get it down on the blocks and go score it. I just don't think that's in his nature right now. He's a very good passer, but he's got a pretty good feel. He moves well. He makes his free throws. We think he's going to be a very good player for us. And he's a bookend. He's a center. And there's not many of those in college basketball anymore. And I think once he really gets on the weights like he needs to, it's gonna help his game.
From your past experiences, is the year between a freshman and sophomore year the year big guys usually make their biggest jump?
Well, I think it's a big year for regardless if you're a big guy or a guard. I just think once you've been through that first year of college basketball, and you understand how quick it is, how detailed it is, how long it is, I think guys really try to make the guys that want to be good players or be great players. Guys that are just kind of coasting through it, maybe they don't realize that, but the guys that really care and the guys that are trying to be great, they sit there and evaluate after their freshman year's over and say, man, I've got to make some changes. Here's what I'm doing well. I got to keep doing that. And I do think he can make a big jump. I really do. He's worked hard in the weight room. He's not afraid to work. But I think that spring and that summer, after that first year, I think they probably don't always totally believe how physical and athletic it is in this league or in college basketball, and they really make big changes in the off season. So I think it's important for all of those young guys, not just big guys.
Right, see you tonight.
Right, thanks.
Our next question comes from Harry Schroeder of Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, Paul, good morning. I know the Chief has been playing a little bit more. Just trying to follow up on some St. Louis guys. Senior night's coming up as well. What will it be like to say goodbye to him and just talk about what he's gone through to get to where he's at?
Yeah, it's really a pretty amazing story. We've been without him so much this year. He's just and he's such a valuable part of our team, and he hurt his knee. He and Marcus both hurt their knees in the 4th game of the year. They missed a ton of time. They came back, and Keith had the stress fracture in the shin. We basically shut him down the 2nd game of the Valley season, and we tried getting him back a couple of weeks ago against Bradley. He played 6 minutes and threw out his back, and it's been touch or go since then. We were finally able to play him last week against Drake. He played 26 minutes and had an outstanding game. And I played him against Northern Iowa Saturday. He's so tough, and you trust him, but I probably shouldn't have played him as much as I did because he was, his body's sore. And he doesn't get practice time. So we'll see where he's at tonight. But just in terms of a competitor and a kid that wants to win for Missouri State, he's great. I've said it before, it's unfortunate for him and really for our fans and his teammates that he hasn't been healthy because he affects winning. He's an intangible guy. He plays so hard, but he simply can't do it. And that's why he retired a year ago. That's why he stepped away, just because his body has really shut down on him a lot. And he came back this year and paid his own way. and when we've had him, he's helped us win. But we haven't had him a whole lot. So I just hope we can get him through this final stretch of the season and let him play because he's fun to coach and he's fun to watch when he's healthy.
Thanks, Paul.
But,
Paul, that was the final one for you. Thanks for your time this morning. Good luck against Illinois State tonight.
thanks, guys.
All right, bye-bye. We're now joined by Coach Marty Simmons of Evansville. Evansville at Indiana State tomorrow night. Back at home to face Southern Illinois in Evansville on Saturday. Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Let's talk about your game tomorrow. Indiana State, a tough opponent. Obviously, they're sitting at second place and sole possession of second place in a 4-game gap between them and 3 teams tied for third. But talk about what you need to do to win tomorrow night in Terre Haute.
Well, it's a tough challenge. Well, we got as much respect for Greg and his staff and their players as anybody in the league. I mean, they are. They're really good. I mean, Odom is basketball IQ's off the charts. I mean, he's one of the guys that has the ability to make everybody around him better, both offensively and defensively. I mean, you look, they got 5 guys averaging double figures. You just don't see that a lot in college basketball, and they've certainly done a great job putting that team together and getting them to play. You know, they're hard to score against. Greg's teams always are. They're great defensively, and they can throw a lot of different lineups at you with size, with athleticism. They can put shooters out there, but just both ends of the floor. I mean, very, very difficult team to play against.
All right, thank you. Let's go to the questions now for Coach Marty Simmons. Questions from the media.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, for questions, press star 1.
Marty, I know you're most concerned about tomorrow night's game and this season's Evansville Purple Aces, but you really got a foundation of excellent young players. Your son, Blake, and certainly Egidius, and then DJ, sophomore, freshman, leading the charges for you right now. Talk about the hopes for the rest of the season and certainly the future with those 3 leading the way.
Well, I think how we play down the stretch will mean a lot, for the future. And, we're competing a lot harder here lately, not getting the results that anybody wants. But, we're real pleased with the young guys and how they're learning, how they're trying to get better. And, we obviously played Wichita State here, and now you go and play, Indiana State, who, is outstanding. So I just think, we think back to when Colt and Ed and Troy and Lewis were freshmen and, the experience that they were able to learn. I mean, it's on-the-job training. There's no doubt. And a lot of times you wish you had more veteran players where maybe these guys weren't getting thrown to the wolves quite as much. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. And our guys are giving 110%, and we're proud of that.
Thanks, Marty. Let's go back to the questions for you.
We do have a question from Jim Benson of the Bloomington Pantograph.
Could you just talk about Egidius' development this year, and where does he need to take the next step for the next 2 years?
I think more than anything, Jim, just strength. He's a lot stronger this year than what he was last year, but he's probably not strong enough. I think that can really help him, just from a physical standpoint. I think right now he's probably playing the best basketball of his career. I mean, his last 4 or 5 games have been outstanding. And he does so many things for us, Jim, that maybe don't show up on a stat sheet just with his presence, inside. He blocks shots. Even when he's not blocking them, he has the ability to change, and just his presence really helps us. And he does a good job with his ball screen coverage, and he's probably a lot more athletic than anybody wants to give him credit. I think as a staff, as a team, we've just got to do a better job of finding ways to give him scoring opportunities. He was outstanding Sunday against Wichita State. He played athletic. He played with emotion. But I think as we move forward, just continuing to build on how he's playing right now. Again, I think the finish is important for him as it is every player on our team and as our team as a whole.
As you look across the landscape of the league, there's a lot of good young big guys in the league. Is this about maybe the best crop you've seen since you've been at Evansville?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. I think they're good every year. I mean, nobody respects the league and the staffs and the players. Everybody. It's just, but yeah, I mean, your big guy's there and you got one out. Lynch is tough. He's tough mentally, physically, and the other big can stretch you, and he's long, and you go right through the entire league. And we're fortunate to each coach is to have these guys, but it's unfortunate that you got to play against them. But I think that's kind of who we are.
Thanks.
You bet.
Marty, that was your final question. Thanks for your time. Good luck against Indiana State tomorrow night.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Let's get next to Coach Barry Hinson of Southern Illinois on a game day. The Salukis hosting Bradley tonight. Later this week, they're off to Evansville to play Evansville on Saturday. Morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike.
Let's talk about Bradley and give us a brief preview of tonight's game, and we'll open up for some questions for you.
Well, I think, Bradley knows, and we know this is, if you don't want to play on a Thursday night, this is a huge game. So right now we're behind. We're in seventh place, and I think that there's a lot of teams right now that are jockeying for position, and they want to be in that 1 through 6 slot. Now, 1 and 2 has already been decided. I don't think that's going to change. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all fighting their tails off right now, and we've told our players tonight this is a playoff game to play on Friday night.
Coach, thank you. Let's get to the questions now for you. Questions for Coach Barry Hinson.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, for questions, press star 1.
Okay, Mike. Looks like that's
it.
Answers that question.
Good luck tonight, Barry. Thank you.
Hey, have a great day. See you.
All right. And let's get now to Coach Porter Moser of Loyola. Loyola playing tomorrow night, hosting Wichita State in Chicago, then off to Bradley on Saturday, playing Braves in Peoria. Morning, Coach.
Morning, Mike.
If you could, just preview tomorrow night's game against the Shockers. Of course, they're certainly well documented how good they are, but talk a little bit about matchups and what you need to do to get a win against the Shockers tomorrow night.
Well, like you said, it's well documented about the kind of team they are and what they've done. There's just so many impressive things when you come out and you start really digging deep into them. But if they're going to get 23 points off turnovers, then they're going to get double figures on the offensive rebounds, and then they get transition. They beat you up in all those intangible categories. And 23 points off turnovers and then another 10 off second chance points. That's just very hard to compete. And I thought Evansville played terrific, and Wichita they're taking everybody's best shot, especially with the crowd. It sounds like they had 9,000 there, and everywhere they go, they're playing in front of that kind of atmosphere. So it just makes what they're doing more impressive.
Thank you, Coach. Let's go ahead and open it up now for some questions for you. Questions for Coach Porter Moser.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Paul Suellentrop of the Wichita Eagle.
So when I'm looking at your team's statistics, it looks like you're shooting the ball pretty well and pretty efficient on offense. Your defensive numbers are pretty solid. Is it the turnovers that's one of the main things that's kind of held you back?
No question, it is. And, our turnovers and rebounding have been 2 Achilles heels with us. And without question, I remember there was some back-to-back games. I think we lost right in overtime at Southern. We have 18 or 19 turnovers. We lost at Bradley, and it was a one-possession game, less than a minute left. We had 18 or 19 turnovers. Same thing at Evansville. It went down to last minute. We've lost a lot of close ones, and that's what makes me. I use Van Fleet's name a lot throughout the year because his assist-to-turnover ratio. You just can't put a price tag on that value of the ball. And I have felt we've been offense. At one point we were in the top 25 in the country in offensive field goal percentage, and I thought we've been efficient. But just key timely turnovers and many of them valuing the ball with our young guards has been definitely an Achilles heel.
You mentioned how all the different ways Wichita State is won and how impressive they've been. How do you go about convincing your team that this can be the night that they can knock that team off?
I think 27 coaches have probably been trying to figure that one out. But the one thing is, it's not an NBA best of 7 series. It's one night. It's one night. We just got to be better tomorrow night. I think they're guys. If I sit there and say we're better than Wichita in our locker room, if I'm yelling that before the game, they know how good they are. But we don't. It's not a best of 7. We've got to be better in those 2 hours. We got to be. You just can't get killed on all the intangible categories with them. They're obviously extremely well coached. They have terrific talent, but they get terrific talent winning and smashing all the intangible categories. And that's what, points off turnovers, offensive rebounds, points in the paint, 50-50 balls. They smash you on those categories, and then they're well coached and talented. And so you got to convince your guys that, I think they know how good they are, so you're not going to sit there, we're better than them. We need to be better than them in a 2-hour period. That's it. It's a 1-game deal. It's not a 7-game best of 7 series.
Sure. What kind of crowd are you expecting tomorrow night?
Hopefully a good one. Our arena is obviously the smallest one in the league, and it can be very noisy. It's nothing they haven't seen, though, before. They've seen a lot of it. I know they're going to bring some, but we're expecting, hopefully a great crowd, and it gets really noisy in there when it's full because of the size. But they've seen almost everything, so for us, we're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Harry Schroeder of Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, good morning, Porter. Wanted to ask you 2 quick questions. One is just following up on some St. Louis guys can try to evaluate Christian's junior year and his first year in the Valley for us. And then just have you been able to sit back and maybe just take a peek and enjoy a little bit of St. Louis U's success?
Sure. First question about Christian Thomas. He's picking right where he let off last year. He's an overachiever. You wish guys that had 6'8", 6'9" bodies had his heart. He's about 6'4.5", and he knows angles. He knows who he is. He does a great job. I know Coach Majerus, when I was with him, we were going to get him to walk on, and you just love that his positioning, his footwork. He makes and maintains position in there. And he just picked up right where he left off, rebounding and scoring. And obviously you wish bigger. The rebounds in traffic sometimes. In this league you're facing bigger guys. He's going to go up against some big bodies tomorrow night. But you as a coach, you can live with kids that have that kind of toughness and a will. He's got a will to compete that you appreciate every day coming to practice. And he was that way the day he got here. The day he got here, he won every sprint. He just wants to win everything, and we can build a culture and a program with kids like that. St. Louis, I love it. Just so happy for them guys. Jim's done a phenomenal job of maintaining that and excelling it to another level. And I'm taking, absolutely. I text those guys, those 5 seniors, as part of that recruiting class, and great kids, great families, and it's great to see when you talk to them in the recruiting that their dreams are living out, and absolutely pulling for them every single game, and they're great kids too, as all those coaches I'm sure will attest to, and very excited for them.
Thanks a lot, Porter.
No problem.
Porter, that was your final question. Thank you for your time this morning, and good luck against Wichita State tomorrow night.
All right, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you. We are joined by Coach Dan Muller of Illinois State. The Redbirds hosting Missouri State tonight. And on Sunday, they're at Northern Iowa. Both games on television. Morning, Coach.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Give us a brief preview of tonight's game against Missouri State, and we'll open it up for some questions for you.
Yeah, Missouri State tonight. We haven't played them in a long time. Played them the first conference game of the year. They look a lot different than they look now. Then, with some injury and the way they're playing, some personnel, we're a little bit different. We're obviously tied for third right now, along with Northern Iowa. So, big game for both of us. Finally got some sunny weather here, so that's nice.
I know it's much better. I'm on my way to Des Moines. It's like 50 degrees and sunny, so I'm welcoming it too.
That's nice, isn't it?
No, it sure is. Yeah. Let's go to the questions for you. Questions from the media for Coach Dan Moore.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, for questions, press star 1. Our first question comes from Jim Benson of the Bloomington Pentagraph.
There's a couple of the coaches here about the young big guys in the league this year, and obviously Reggie is one of the top ones. Did you foresee him having this type of season when you recruited him, or maybe has it been obviously maybe a plus on the offensive side a little bit, the work he's shown there?
Yeah, no, we thought Reggie at some point would be obviously a terrific player for us, and coming into the season with so many new guys, I wasn't sure what to expect from a lot of people, but his offensive production has been a blessing. We thought he'd be very good defensively. We knew he was big. He put a lot of weight on, and you never know how much weight guys can put on. He put about 20 pounds on when he got here, which has helped him. And he's just picked things up. He's improved dramatically from the first day we started with him this summer. So he's exceeded some expectations we thought he'd have this year.
And in the future, I know we've talked about it too. Is it the rebounding thing he really needs to kind of maybe focus on more of next season?
Yeah, rebounding, obviously playing without fouling. He's shooting the ball from the foul line much better the last 4 or 5 games, which has just been a process, extra shots over the course of the season, confidence level. He'll improve on everything, but I'd say those things right there are the most glaring things that he'll continue to get better at.
Especially when you see all the young big guys in the league. Is it nice to have one of them to go against all those guys in the future?
It sure is. It sure is. It's nice. Anytime you can get a quality post player, an actual low post player, really anywhere in college basketball today, as a young guy, it's something not everybody has, and they're hard to get. So he's a great kid on and off the court. That's the other thing. He's very coachable. So yeah, we're really happy to have him.
See you tonight.
Okay, thanks, Jen. See you.
Coach, one follow-up question for me, just on the Newcomer of the Week award. Is Deshaun Knight wins it again? It's his 4th time this year, and talk about his play. It's been up and down a little bit, but certainly last week it was up. He had career high 26 against Bradley and nailed 5 3-pointers in that game. And when he's on, he makes you very good.
Yeah, Deshaun has been. He's been a little bit up and down like a lot of first-year guys. He was terrific last week, specifically in the Bradley game, and he really hadn't shot it well. He's done a lot of other things very well throughout the course of the season, but he just hasn't shot it well. And if he can keep that up down the stretch, it'll be huge for our team. Happy for him, proud of him. 4 times this year is a great number, and speaks to how good of a player he is.
And thank you very much. It's a game day. Good luck against Missouri State tonight. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye. We'll reach out to Coach Gino Ford of Bradley. We'll have him on momentarily. Just a reminder to the media that we'll have the round table again for the beat writers. They have to stay online following Coach Greg Marshall. And a reminder, too, about our tie-breaking procedures. We do have a tie-breaking procedure. There's a link on our website to it, but we first go to head-to-head, and if head-to-head doesn't quite get out, we can use our non-conference schedule strength from the RPI report. That's Jim Sukup's report, Collegiate Basketball News. And we will use the report from the Saturday morning of the regular season final. So that's March 1st. We'll generate that, send that around, but I'll be sending daily updates of the non-conference schedule strength. It won't change a lot between now and then, but it does fluctuate a little bit, and there's a couple of teams that are very tight in that in those numbers. But any questions about the tiebreaker, just feel free to send me a note. Don't ask me to run too many scenarios with this many games left, but I can hopefully answer any questions you might have about it. Coach Barry Hinton alluded earlier that Indiana State looks like they were going to grab a hold of the second seed. Of course, mathematically, they still have a shot at the title or tying for it, but should the Sycamores end up in second place, the league record for second place team with the most wins is held by Creighton. The Blue Jays were 15-3 back in 2004, trailing Southern Illinois 16-2 mark. 5 other teams finished with 14 wins in the conference season without winning the league, and of course Indiana State's sitting at 11-3 right now with 4 games left. Of players reached some historic milestones this past week. Milton Doyle of Loyola became just the 19th freshman in league history to surpass 400 points in the season. He has 411 heading into their next game. And DJ Valentine, who continues to be the league's top scorer and the nation's top scoring sophomore, had 623 points. That ranks at 8th best all time for a sophomore in the league. Oscar Robertson, back in 1958, holds the league standard with 984. The last player to reach 600 in a season as a sophomore was Doug McDermott. Doug had 801 in his sophomore season in 2011-12. Of course, Bradley, in a game day today, they may be at the gym. I'm not sure. They're having problems getting hold of Coach Gino Ford. Megan or Bonnie, if we could reach ahead to go ahead and get Coach Marshall on, we'll keep trying with Gino, and we'll go ahead and take Coach Greg Marshall just a couple minutes early. Oh, never mind. We do have Coach Gino Ford with us. Good morning, Gino.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I was just getting ready to give you a free pass. I didn't know if you were at shoot-arounds or not, but now that we have you on...
we're on our way over there, yeah. Sorry, not a lot of reception in Carbondale. I don't know. But anyway, it was the first time the call got through. But sorry about that.
Not a problem. Coach Henson's looking at tonight as a playoff game for the right to not to play on Thursday night of the opening round of the NBC tournament. Do you see it the same way?
Well, obviously it'll be a big game in terms of, it would give either one of us a lead, but I think there's a lot of basketball left to be played over the next couple of weeks. We both got kind of difficult schedules coming down the last 2 weeks. It's a big game to avoid Thursday, but at the same time I think that we would get a little bit more of a plus from winning, only because we'd get that tiebreaker with the head-to-head sweep in case there was a 3-way tie, that could help us. So hopefully we can find a way to get one on the road.
Thank you, Gino. Let's go ahead and open it up now for some questions for you. Questions for Coach Gino Ford.
To ask Coach a question, press star 1. Our first question comes from Jim Vincent of the Bloomington Pantograph.
Gino, obviously there's a lot of good young big guys in the league, and you have one of them in Xavier. Could you just kind of evaluate his first season, and what are your expectations for him kind of going forward?
Well, I think Xavier's really played much better than we expected. When we got him, we thought he would be a nice, active, big body and red shirt candidate and some of those kind of things. And over the summer, we were even thinking about redshirting him. And then somewhere along the way, he just started out playing all the other guys at his position. I think he's developed. He's had a couple statistical big games, had 14 points, 14 rebounds in a ball game. But like all freshmen, still learning. And I think the key for all these young bigs will be who works hard. Because, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of good ones. Obviously, Reggie Lynch right there, in your backyard is very good. And I think anytime you got a lot of them, there's going to have to be some separation. Because right now, anytime when you're a freshman and you do something good, everybody talks about how great you're going to be down the road. And then somewhere between that and your, junior, senior year, you kind of find a level and you're not going to get above that very, very often. So I think all those kids are headed for big off seasons. But Xavier's, he's really been a hard worker for us. I mean, he's in the gym all the time. He's a gym rat kind of guy and trying to work on his offense, work on developing some moves over his right shoulder and some stuff he can have confidence in. But he'll be a big key to our season next year, that's for sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Again, for questions, press star 1.
Gino, just a brief synopsis about playing the Salukis again with a different kind of look. Anthony Bean really playing well in the last 6 games. He's averaging over 20 points a game, and he's made a big impact in their stretch run here.
Yeah, I think he's the whole key. I mean, Desmar Jackson has been one of the 2 or 3 most talented players in our league for multiple years. And now all of a sudden, instead of him having to do it all by himself, Anthony Bean has emerged into he's playing like an all-conference player. He's done it now for a month, and that's why they're having success. And I think the biggest thing that speaks to how well he's played is he's done it against everybody. I mean, when you are able to go in to Wichita and play well, which he did, and I thought he made some big shots when the crowd got into it. And after having been to Wichita, and I know in a couple of years we haven't had anybody make a big shot to quiet the crowd out there. He did it a few times, so that got my attention in a hurry because you know how good they are and how hard of a place that is to play. But I think he's the key to the game tonight and the key to their next 2 weeks because Desmar's going to do what he does and put pretty efficient on the stat sheet.
Thank you, Gino. We do have one more question in the queue for you, so we'll get to that one, and then we'll let you go. But one more question in the queue.
Okay.
We have a question from Harry Schroeder of Valley Hoops Insider.
Hey, good morning, Gino. Catching up on some St. Louis guys playing in the Valley, and I know Jordan Swatchar hasn't had he's not playing a ton of minutes for you. Just how's his development been? What are you looking for from him?
Well, he's really one of our best shooters, and we've not been a great shooting team, and like a lot of young guys, is trying to figure out the defensive end of the floor. On our particular team, defense is paramount. We're second in the league in defense. We're dead last in offense. So we've got to have guys on the floor that are going to get stops, and that's limited his minutes, just the defensive stuff. But from an offensive standpoint, he can shoot it. He has size. He's a great kid. We're very hopeful that he will, make a big jump because we know what he's capable of doing. But for our team right now, the defensive end is where our emphasis has been, and that's really why he hasn't played, extensively at this point in the season.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gino, that's it for you today. Good luck against Southern Illinois tonight. Appreciate your time today.
Okay. Thanks.
And we are joined by Coach Greg Marshall of Wichita State. The Shockers headed to Loyola for a game tomorrow night, and then back at home this weekend to play Drake on Saturday. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. You?
I'm doing well, thank you. Let's preview your game, if you could, for tomorrow night against Loyola. A small gym. It's going to be a loud gym, and Loyola plays much better at home than they do on the road. They gave you a handful at your place a couple weeks back.
Yeah, they played well, and I think we won by 12. I wasn't particularly pleased with the way we finished the game, but that was my fault for some of the substitutions that I did. But they look like a talented team, especially at home. They're playing much better at home.
Thank you, Greg. Let's get to the questions from the media for you. Questions for Coach Greg Marshall.
To ask Coach a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Harry Schroeder of Valley Hoops Insider.
Good morning, Greg. Your guys everybody's been talking about them playing angry, but they seem so even-keeled to me, like they're pretty matter-of-fact about this great streak you're on. Is that just the way they're made up or the way you're helping them stay that way?
No, I don't take any credit for that. They're very level-headed, mature. They just go out and take care of their business. I mean, I don't want to jinx this, but I bet you since that flagrant 1 deal has come into play, I would bet that there have been probably 10 to 12 times where we've been on the receiving end of an elbow or whatnot. And knock on wood, once again, I don't think we've had one against us yet. So we're not a malicious or a group, or, the playing angry connotation can be taken the wrong way. For us, it just means trying to play harder and more passionate and energetic than our opponents and wanting it more.
Greg, when you guys are having such a great year and Creighton's having such a great year, do you kind of wish they were still in the league so you guys could knock heads a couple times this year?
I have no control over that, but I do think it's interesting that, they were one of the top teams, if not the top team, along with us the last couple of years in this league, and they lost a little bit, and we lost a little bit. They go to the Big East, now considered an elite league, and they're dominating the league. Yet we, in our league, with them gone, are having to justify our 27-0. I think that's an interesting quandary for folks. I don't know if they've looked into that.
I think you're right. Best of luck, Greg. Thanks.
Thanks.
Our next question comes from Paul Swellentrop of the Wichita Eagle.
Greg, what jumps out at you about Loyola after facing them once? What kind of things impressed you the most?
I just think Doyle really played well at the end of the game. That was the biggest key. I thought he was very aggressive driving the ball, and he spins and he comes right at you. So you've got to be ready to guard at the point of attack.
Thank you.
Again, for questions, press star 1. Our next question comes from John Walters of Newsweek.
Coach, thanks for taking the time. Listen, you alluded to it with the Creighton note, but you've got this part of the country that's very sparsely populated, and yet here you guys are 27-0. Creighton's got probably the player of the year, and Kansas has 2 players that everybody says is our top 5 NBA draft picks. Can you just talk about why there's sort of this fertile crescent of basketball, college basketball, in your part of the country this year?
I don't think that's necessarily a one-year deal. I've always been impressed with the basketball here in the Midwest. To go farther than that, I mean, you're talking the superlatives now. I mean, maybe the first pick in the draft, and McDermott's probably going to be Player of the Year, which he deserves, and he's had a wonderful career. I got to watch him for 3 years, and I've watched him some this year, and he's gotten better. But I think that Kansas has always been a top team, and people in the Midwest love basketball. It gets very cold, and there's snow and ice. So what better thing to do on a weeknight than to go in a gym that's going to get heated up with 10,000 or 15,000 people and cheer for your home team? And that's what people do here, and they care about it deeply. I've been on the East Coast. I've been in the Southeast, and in the Southeast, it's more of they can't wait for the fall when it's really hot and they can go watch their college football team play.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Greg, looks like that was your final question. I want to thank you for your time and good luck against Loyola tomorrow night.
Okay, thanks.
See you, Greg. This does wrap up our weekly call. We'll ask the non-beat writers to please disconnect at this time, and we'll look forward to hearing from everybody next week. And we'll ask the beat writers to stay on the line for our quick roundtable.
March Madness is coming to St. Louis. Experience it live. Oh, brings it home! As 8 of the top collegiate teams compete for a shot at the NCAA Sweet 16. Don't miss the buzzer beaters. As Cinderellas crash the party at the 2014 NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Championship. March 21st and 23rd at the Scott Trade Center in St. Louis. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/MBB tickets.
Show your school spirit and make all the difference. Sport your team's colors at the MBC tournament and get great seats for as little as $12 a session. Just $12. Don't miss the 2014 Missouri Valley Conference Women's Basketball Tournament at the Family Arena in St. Charles, Missouri. Show your school spirit and get your tickets now. It begins here.
Ollie for three. Down goes Kansas.
It begins here.
Say it slowly. Wichita State is going to the Final Four.
The madness starts at the Arch. Don't miss the 2014 Missouri Valley Conference Men's Basketball Tournament. March 6th through 9th at Scott Trade Center. Get your tickets and get to St. Louis for Arch Madness. It begins here.